So if you have not filed your tax return yet, and if you're going to owe, if your paperwork is still all over the place, my business owners whose books are not cleaned up, my real estate investors whose activity has not been fully sorted through, or my high income earners who already know they have a tax bill and that tax bill is about to hit differently this year, this episode is for you. I'm Deltrease Hart Anderson, keeping the IRS out of your pocketbooks, wallets, and bank accounts. Welcome to another episode of Tax Problem Solved, where we are discussing today what to do right now if you're not ready to file your tax return. So today we're talking about something a whole lot of people don't want to deal with, the April 15th filing deadline. And as of today, that is 6 days away, because right now people are doing what they always do when tax season gets a little too real. They panic, they procrastinate, or they just go quiet and hope the problem somehow fixes itself. So let me be very, very clear, okay? That's not how tax problems work. Tax problems don't get better when you ignore them. They get bigger, they get more expensive, and they get harder to fix. So today I want to talk to the people who are behind, overwhelmed, stressed, confused, scared. I want to talk to you guys, okay? And I want you to hear me clear. I want to tell you what needs to happen right now, like today, okay? So the first thing I want you to do is file your tax return, even if you can't pay. Let's just start there, because one of the biggest mistakes people make every single year is they feel I can't afford to pay my taxes, so I'm just not going to file. That is the wrong answer. That's the absolute wrong answer, okay? That's one of the fastest ways for you to make a bad situation worse. The IRS is generally much harsher. The penalties are much harsher when you do not file your tax return versus when you do not pay your taxes, okay? So if you're sitting there thinking that you're buying yourself some time by not filing your taxes, you're not. All you're doing is increasing your damage. If you cannot fully pay, that's fine. That's one issue. But if you don't file your tax return, that is a separate issue. Now you have two issues. Not filing is a larger issue than not paying. So my first message, let's wrap that up. File the tax return, even if you cannot pay the balance in full. Okay. Now, someone is saying, well, Deltrease, I don't even have all my records together. I can't file. That's fine as well, because guess what? You still have time to do the next best thing, which is file an extension. Now, when you file that extension, just know that this extension is not a free pass. This extension gives you more time to file the tax return. It does not give you more time to pay. So I need for you to understand that, because too many people act like filing an extension means that they have pushed the whole thing off until later. No, that just means that the paperwork can come later, but you still owe that money. The IRS still want their paper by the deadline, okay? So if you're going to extend, then make sure you extend properly. If you know you're going to owe money, then send as much money as you can, even if it's not the full amount. Don't stress yourself over it. Pay what you can, because here's the thing. Every dollar you pay now, you reduce how much money you end up paying later, okay? And that's paying the taxes as well as the penalties associated with those taxes. Now, this is not about perfection. You're not going to have everything perfect. No big deal. Again, stop stressing. This is about limiting your damage. That's it. Now let's talk to my business owners. Please, business owners, and I say this with all the love that I could muster up for today. Get out of denial, okay? If your books are still not together and we're 6 days out, then you need to stop acting surprised. Don't get mad at your tax preparer. Don't even get mad at your bookkeeper if you have one, okay? Because this is not the time. At this point, the issue is not a deadline issue. It's a lack of systems issue. It's an accountability issue, okay? I'm saying this with love, I promise you. If your income is not categorized correctly, if your expenses are mixed up, if you're still trying to figure out what is business versus what is personal, if the contractor payments are unclear, you don't know who you pay, if those numbers are based off of like vibes and a bank balance instead of actual bookkeeping, then you do not just have a tax problem. There's an operational problem that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. But guess what? Now ain't the time. Okay? Because if you rush that tax return, right, it's built off of messy books or no books at all. Now you're creating a bigger mess for later. You don't need to just throw numbers on a tax return just to say, hey, at least I got something filed. That is going to cost you big time. You can miss deductions, you can misstate income, mishandle expenses, and that's going to create a big issue long after tax season is over. So, my business owner, if this is you, stop trying to make chaos look organized, okay? Call a thing a thing. It is what it is. And do what needs to be done. My real estate investors, stop talking to these tax preparers. I'm looking in the comments I see in these groups that I'm in where it's like, oh, I don't know what's going on with my tax return. I just have a basic return. I only have real estate. I don't have a business. Yes, you do. Real estate is a business, okay? And this, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, sometimes your real estate, depending on how many properties you have, it's more complicated than a regular business or a business of another industry, okay? Owning real estate doesn't automatically make your tax return simple. It makes it more nuanced in a lot of cases because you have placed in service dates that matter, repairs versus improvements, depreciation, short-term versus long-term rentals, passive activity, material participation, your entity structure, refinances, bought house, sold house, convert the property, a vacancy, all of those things matter. I know y'all have heard those terms before. And guess what? This is not the time to act like your return is just a few forms. All those things I mentioned, they go on different forms. They go on different worksheets. They have to be calculated in a certain way to get to that simple form that you think that you have, okay? Or the simple form or forms that you see. Here's the thing. You don't always know how the sausage is made. You don't know how the cake is baked. You just see a pretty cake at the end. All right. One wrong treatment of any of those things I mentioned can affect your tax return, affect your money this year, next year, year after that, and the year after that ain't looking too good either. I'm just saying. Now, what I need for real estate investors to understand is if you're building wealth through real estate, I call it if you're building your empire, your tax return is not supposed to be handled casually. Don't take your real estate empire lightly because it ain't light. My high income earners, making more money is not always the full story. Okay. Your issue is not always, oh, I made too much money. A lot of times the real issue is nobody helped you plan for how the money was made. So now you have a big tax bill. Okay. And you're looking at the balance like, how is this even possible? Why I owe so much money? Well, it could have been your bonus. It could have been a commission. It could be your side hustle, 1099. It could be investment income because y'all have real estate too, right? It could be a K1. It could be an RSU. Maybe it was a combination of a lot of those things hitting all at one time. Yeah, you had a good year or you continue to have good years, but you don't know how to reduce that income. Okay. So for the high income earners who feel blindsided, hear me clearly. This is not the time to shut down. You don't want to shut down right now. Okay. You want to be proactive. This is the moment to deal with your taxes honestly and strategically. Okay. If you already have tax problems, and this is whether you're a high income earner, whether you're a real estate investor, a business owner, or whomever you are out there, if you already have tax problems, stop waiting. Okay. You know that this is bigger than this year. If you already owe, you're missing tax returns, you got those letters from the IRS or the state piling up somewhere, you don't even remember where they are anymore. You're behind, you're hoping that nothing happens. And now it's really not about April 15th, okay? Because here's the thing. Tax problems, they don't age well. You can procrastinate and keep kicking that can down the street, but the tax problem is going to grow teeth. As a matter of fact, they're going to grow fangs. So the longer you wait, the fewer options that you get. Now you have more stress, more fear, more sleepless nights. You don't want those problems. You want your peace back. You want to be able to walk with confidence. You don't want every time you go to the mailbox, your knees get weak because you got another letter. Okay. Here's the thing, all for nothing, because you were embarrassed or you thought you would deal with it later. You have no idea how many people are in tax trouble. You really don't. You're in good company. I want you out of that company though, but you have no idea. So stop being embarrassed. If you already know you have an issue, don't delay it because of embarrassment or fear. That's not the answer. The answer is not to avoid your tax issues. Your answer is to come up with a strategy. So if you are behind right now, you don't need more shame. You need action. You need to figure out whether the return can be filed by the deadline. If it can't be filed by the deadline, don't stress yourself. No big deal. You can get an extension. If you're going to owe, pay what you can. If you can't pay, then no big deal. A payment arrangement can be set up. If your records are a mess, you need to get honest about that. If this is bigger than one tax return, you need to stop treating it like that. It's not going to be a quick fix. All right. This is the part where grown taxpayer decisions have to happen. Okay. You got to do grown people stuff. You have to adult when it comes to taxes. I know I hate it, but I have to do it. Okay. And this can't be done next month. Not if you're going to be strategic about it. Not when you feel better, not when the IRS sends you another letter, not when they freeze your bank account, not when they garnish your wages, because they will. Don't wait. Do it now, because these 6 days can go by really, really fast. And a lot of people are going to wake up after the deadline wishing they had moved sooner. So let me get off my soapbox. Let me leave you with this. April 15th is not just another date on the calendar. For some people, it is the moment that they finally take control. For other people, it's the moment they keep avoiding what needs to be handled. The choice is yours. Whatever choice you make, it's going to matter. If you're not ready, please don't panic. But don't play in the IRS's face either. You want to move, you want to take action. Handle what you can handle and stop making things worse by doing nothing. Okay? If you need help, contact my office. I can help you figure out how to get compliant, how to deal with the IRS or state. I can help you figure out what your next move should be. Reach out to us at www.callthetaxpro.com. That's www.callthetaxpro.com. Let's see what we can do. All right. We're not filing a tax return. I will not be able to file a tax return for you in the next 6 days, but there are so many other options out there for you where we can assist you. So thanks for listening to another episode of Tax Problem Solved. I'm Deltrease Hart Anderson, keeping the IRS out of your pocketbooks, wallets, and bank accounts. Till next time, bye y'all.